In this lesson, we'll go through the while loop. The while loop is very similar to the do while loop. The only difference is that there is no do, just like in this example. And instead, we have the while. And after the while with the condition is when we execute the block of code. So then the syntax looks like this, where it's while, and then your condition logic, and then your block of code. So that way there is no execution of the block of code beforehand. So if you don't meet the conditions, it's not going to do anything at all. So from our example last time where we had the account list of 10 accounts, I'll select the ID and the name from account. Limit it to 10. And then we have integer x is equal to 0. And then while and the condition. So for this one, we want to go through all of the account list. So we can do x is less than account list dot size. And the reason why we're not doing less than or equal to is because the x is going to be based on the index. Size is going to be based on the size of the account. So this is going to be 10 and would come back as 10. So if we did equal to, the x would end up as number 10. And we don't have a number 10 index because that would really be the 11th record within the list, and we only have 10 of them. So now I'll just debug account list dot name, getting the index is x, and then we'll do x plus plus. Okay, and as we run this, don't have a token x. Oh, I need to put in the semicolon. And as we run, we can see we're going through that full list, and you can see the index is increasing as well. So what happens if we don't have this x plus plus? We're going to have an infinite loop. So let's run that and see what happens. So as we can see, we don't have anything that's going to be telling it to get out of there, and then we are always going to be going and executing this block of code where we are getting just the first index and then printing out the name and then the index or the integer number. So this may take a little while. And this finally was done running, and as we can see, if I scroll up, and I can just keep scrolling and see that there it as continuously was looping through and just debugging the updated account and the index number until we got to an exception or a limit of CPU time limit. We'll talk more about governor limits and these types of limits later on when we're talking about transactions. But for right now, we can just see that we need to make sure when we run while loops, especially while loops, or there's other loops that don't iterate through the list directly, that we have logic in there correctly that's going to stop the loop. Otherwise, we're going to run into these errors.